Hi there, welcome back. How are you? We're in the midst of a very busy month. It's always busy, but I'm just thrilled to know that many of you were encouraged by the video I did last week with Kimberly at Pretty Over 50 and her fat loss success. And today we're going to answer a few questions that came up as a result of that conversation and hope to clarify things a little bit for you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Connie. This is Over 50 Fat Blast, where we talk everything fat loss for the over 50 woman and over 60 woman. First of all, you know, I'm not a doctor. Everything that we talk about is advice. It's not medical advice. And I feel strongly that you get to make your own decisions about how you feed your body and live your life. Interestingly enough, some of the questions that we got last week were about fasting and protein. And I want to clarify the fact that, ladies, we need to eat ample protein on the daily, or at least most days. We need to provide the body with the raw materials to maintain and build, hopefully, muscle mass so that we can be as strong as possible moving into our golden years. Of course, many of us want fat loss, and so restricting calories is kind of that was drilled into us, unfortunately, because that's just the dogma that we kind of were raised with. Calories in, calories out. There's a little bit of merit to that, but eat less and exercise more does not work long term. We need to really appreciate the fact that the body needs raw materials. So we need to eat high quality proteins in order to have the structure to impart muscle building. When we fast, you're not going to be eating. So if you have a 24-hour, 36-hour fast, obviously that's not happening every day. So on the days that you are eating, which is most days, you want to prioritize protein. And once you get fat adapted, once you get to a place where fasting becomes easy, and I'm not talking about starvation, I'm talking about going several hours, many hours with no food, so that your body can tap into stored fat for fuel instead of sugar that you've just eaten. That's going to help with insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. It's going to help with your energy, and it's going to really clean up old cells that are kind of dragging you down. So when you are prioritizing protein during your mealtime, then you don't need to worry about getting all your protein in on a day that you're fasting. The question was concerned about getting ample protein and adequate protein when you're doing extended fasting. This does not have to be a concern, because if you're doing, getting 80 to 100 grams of quality protein most days, then if you have a day or two when you decide to designate that as an extended fasting period, your body will be fine. And you're not going to lose muscle because the fasting provides the body with all the nutrients and everything. It's like going to the pantry. You have what you need. And yeah, you're going to replace it at some point, but in that moment, you're good. I also want to caution for those that are maybe thinking that one meal a day for days in, months on end, day in and day out, maybe that's not such a good idea. Again, I say the body likes to be kept guessing. So if you do 1 meal a day, which is called OMAD, 1 meal a day, OMAD, then make sure that you're getting 45 to 55 grams of protein in that feeding window when you do that meal. And that should be enough protein for you to maintain your muscle mass and not have your hair fall out and provide all of your organs with enough fuel and nutrients so that you thrive. We've talked about this before. Quality is important. The relative strength of food is important. So when we're talking proteins, obviously there is kind of a pecking order where the most nutrient dense foods are, by way of proteins, is organ meats. And organ meats have high purine. Purines are a protein fraction and extremely balancing for energy needs. And so if you can't stomach eating liver once in a while, you can actually take an organ supplement, and that's extreme. I mean, it's like rocket fuel, extremely high in nutrient density. You can take liver capsules, organ meats that are processed into supplements are something that I will recommend to maybe someone who is very low in energy or just doesn't like to eat meat. That's a really good way of ensuring that you're getting really high quality protein and purines. And then moving down the line is red meat, and that would be beef, lamb, and elk, deer, venison, all of those game animals. And those are stronger than the white meats. The next meat that is I'll say third on the list, would be the dark meat poultry. So that's gonna be a stronger protein than white meat poultry. You'll notice when you eat, if you're hungry after your white meat chicken, then you might switch to a different type of protein to see if that doesn't hold you longer feeling satiated. So after red meat is the darker poultry and fattier fish, and then we go into the white poultry and white fish that are lower in fat, and they will be less impactful as a protein source than your heavier meats. I think that's obvious. And then down further on the list is eggs, and then the protein powders. And I'll just say that protein powders are processed. So let's be clear, it's a processed food. Some of them are excellent quality. I would say that your hydrolyzed beef and chicken proteins are going to be a little more substantial than the pea proteins, the more vegetarian proteins. And then on down the list is the beans, legumes, dairy, and so forth. If you happen to be struggling with adrenal or thyroid issues, or you just have low energy with fatigue, then you're going to want to really maximize your ability to get all the nutrients possible. And I know when you don't feel well, it's hard to eat meat. I have a lot of vegetarian clients who they either, for whatever reason, gave up on meat. And I see that it gets really hard to get all of your dietary protein requirements in when you're not eating a heavy hitter protein source like meat. The perfect aminos are a wonderful, wonderful way to supplement your daily intake, and it's 99% bioavailable. The perfect aminos I've talked about, but I can't stress enough that it's a calorie-free way to get a very, very absorbable protein. And there's a couple different brands out there. I like Body Health Perfect Aminos. You can get them on my Fullscript account at a 15% discount. And I just can't stress enough how important it is to supplement, especially when you're intermittent fasting. If you're skipping a meal and you're afraid that, too often you're not eating enough protein, then consider supplementing with an amino acid supplement. All right, let's shift gears. We talked a lot about lifting weights and building and maintaining muscle mass. And many of you had questions about how you do that. How heavy do you lift? How often do you lift? Is Pilates enough? Is yoga enough? I'm going to say that that's up to you. Your best bet is to get in the gym or on YouTube and do a 30-minute weight-bearing exercise. If you choose to lift heavy, awesome. It just depends on what your needs are. For me, I do maybe 2 30-minute strength classes, and they're intermediate classes. I use the Lululemon Mirror app. I do have a mirror. I love it. It has classes. You can do the same thing on YouTube. You can get a gym membership. You can just decide to put together a routine with some dumbbells and knock that out 2 or 3 days a week. So my best advice, and especially if you haven't been consistent with your weight-bearing exercise, it's non-negotiable. You must do something. Now, there are always the exception. If you have an injury, if you need a shoulder replacement, there are still body weight exercises that you can kind of figure out. We have the internet. That's a resource that will give us information. You can find a trainer who can customize a weight routine that would work. And I think there was a woman made a comment saying she needs both shoulders replaced. God bless her. But you can do other things that don't require, shoulders. You can do biceps and triceps and leg exercises and, core exercises. Those are limitations, of course, but you need to keep your body moving. Absolutely, especially if you have weight to lose. If you're overweight and you have fat, you need to burn it off. You owe it to yourself to get started with building as much muscle as possible so that you have the metabolism and you don't have to diet, because this is not about dieting. This is life. I also want to comment on the fact that fasting does not waste muscle. When you fast correctly, your body gets all of its energy from fat. When you have a healthy metabolism, then your body shifts into fat burning and it's not going to waste muscle. Now, let me explain. The low-calorie diets that we lived on throughout our, 30s, 40s, and 50s, many of us, that wastes muscle because we're eating little bits all day long, low-calorie foods. We're starving ourselves, basically. And the intermittent fasting is completely different. When you're fasting, your body taps into stored fat. That unlocks a fuel source that is very different from glucose. Glucose we're getting from the snacks, the celery sticks that we snacked on, the rice cakes that came in. Those are full of glucose. And when you are fasting, your body burns through the glucose, and when you're metabolically healthy, it taps into stored fat. Exactly what you want. So these diet companies that track calories are doing nothing but putting you in starvation mode, and the body starts burning itself. It starts wasting muscle. And fasting is the best way out of that scenario, so you feel better. For one thing, you're not starving because you're feeding yourself, and you're feeding yourself very, very well in those feeding windows. But the low calorie diets that you're tracking calories and points, and you're eating boxed foods that are very low quality nutrition, are just keeping that diet industry in business because it's not solving the problem. Intermittent fasting, high quality, low carbohydrate, protein, and quality food diet lifestyle is going to keep you lean, happy, healthy, and younger forever. I can't stress that enough. I don't have a specific program to offer you. When we do a jumpstart session, okay, why don't I have a program? Because programs don't typically work. What I want to share with you in the Jumpstart session is a lifestyle plan, program, whatever you want to call it, parameters that you know how many macros you should be eating, how many grams of protein you should shoot for, how many carbohydrates you want to aim for, how much fat you need to be eating, and so on and so forth. Since everybody has a different palate, it's really, I think, not ideal to give you a meal plan because I don't want you to ever have to avoid XYZ forevermore. Yes, some of us want to avoid gluten, and some of us want to avoid dairy, especially if your metabolism is sluggish and you have a lot of inflammation. But when we learn how to get your body and your metabolism teed up and healthy, then you have a lot more flexibility. And it's not about a diet. It's about understanding how your metabolism and your system works so that you can choose to go out to dinner and splurge, and then you'll get right back on the program. And when you have that ability, it is gold because you're not white knuckling it anymore. And you're feeling good day in and day out. You can skip eating altogether for 24 to 36 hours because you know that you might get a little hungry, but you know that you're going to get that burst of energy when your body kicks in and starts burning stored fat. So the fact that you get to kind of dip your toe in the water by understanding how to develop that intermittent fasting muscle, and then knowing you get to eat really high quality food that's going to nourish your body instead of deplete it, and you're going to get everything you need so that you're going to thrive, be a better you, have more energy, live longer, and just all around be younger. That's what we do in the Jumpstart. And that's why when you see the comments that, somebody figured out what they needed, they figured out meal timing, when to eat, what to eat, and down 26 pounds in 3 months, I'm telling you, is there anything better than that? No. So consider booking a session. If you're struggling with your weight, if it just seems impossible, then get some help. There's so many great resources out there, and I don't want you to struggle. Life's too short, especially these precious years. It's important to feel good in your body and feel successful and empowered. And it's a real pleasure to watch the unfolding of so many of you that I've met, and watch you enjoy your body finally feeling like you want it to feel. It takes effort. It takes action. you need to commit to yourself. It takes time and patience and grace, and it's really, really worth doing. I love living in a body that I can trust, and I couldn't always say that. I want to share the tips and tricks that I have used through the years helping menopausal women with lasting fat loss. I'm so grateful to get to offer you things that work long term. If this was helpful for you, I would love it if you subscribed. Let me know what's working for you in the comments. Let me know what your questions are. There's so many variables to this, healthy body situation. We deal with gut health, thyroid issues. I'm a functional blood work specialist and analyst, working with you in ways that allow you to maximize and optimize your lifestyle. That's important to me. Let's do it together. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you very much. And come for the fat loss, stay for the longevity. We'll see you next time. Bye.